Hey there, my name is Nick. I'm on team here with Christ Central, and just want to say thank you for tuning in again to our fifth and final summer devotional video. If you saw the previous four, or the introductory video, you'll know that the context for these devotional videos is that we want to look at 5 things over this month, over this summer, that will hopefully help stir and encourage our faith, and if implemented, will help us to draw closer to Jesus. The topics we've looked at, the topics we've chosen to kind of narrow down on, come from the Chinese underground church. And again, if you watch the introductory video, you know that I shared the story of how the Chinese underground church has grown exponentially over the last 20 years. There are over 100 million believers, despite a huge amount of government control and persecution. And one of the reasons we believe that they have grown so much is because they teach all of their people when they first get saved to do these 5 simple things. And we've looked at the first one, which is read and memorize scripture. The second thing was to pray daily. The third thing was to rejoice in our trials. And the fourth thing was to share their faith daily. We've looked at those things. We've talked about different ways to implement them into your lives. We've talked about book recommendations. We hope you found it helpful. Today we're going to finish by talking about how, as Christians, we should be expecting God to move. Another way of saying to have faith, to trust in Him, to believe that He is going to work in our lives. Hebrews 11 says this, and without faith, it is impossible to please Him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that He exists and rewards those who seek Him. And Psalm 130 says, I wait expectingly, trusting God to help, for He has promised. I love that verse. I wait expectingly, trusting God to help, for He has promised. Church, the Christian life is a life of faith. It's a relationship where God is present and active in our lives. He wants to be involved in our daily choices and actions, and He wants to move and respond to our prayers. And the thing I love about these 5 things is that if we do the first 4 well, then the final one should be a consequence of us doing those 4 things. If we read our Bible and pray and share our faith and rejoice in our trials, the end result of that is that we should be a people of greater faith who do expect God to move. When we do these 4 things, the result is that faith is activated in our lives. You know, over the last few years, I've learned several things about faith as my family and I have taken big faith steps. 2 key ones that I want to share with you today. The first thing is this: faith is an action. Expecting God to move is an action. We cannot passively have faith. We cannot passively sit back and just hope. Faith is a muscle that needs exercising. It needs you to take a faith step to show God, I'm believing in you. Maybe it's your faith challenge right now is about money. Can you give money away to say, God, I trust you? Can you commit to something saying, I trust you? Maybe it's healing. Can you step out and ask for prayer? Maybe it's emotional health. Can you step out and ask for help? That's what faith is. It's exercising and saying, I'm going to trust in you, God, and I'm going to not passively do it, but actively step into it. The second thing I've learned about faith is that it almost always comes with a cost. And this makes having faith and expecting God to move all the more difficult, because we know there's a sacrifice involved for us. And this is just one of the reasons we believe it's so important to have these constant reminders and encouragements to expect God to move. It's also one of the reasons why we should do these first 4 things. Read our Bible, pray, rejoice in our trials, and share our faith. As we do these things, they will help strengthen our faith.
Some ways that I stir my faith so that I expect God to move. One is I look at my past and I reflect on ways that God has moved in the past for me or for people who are close to me that I know of. But then also having people in your life that you're close with and you know what's going on in their life enough so that when God moves in their life and you guys talk about it and they share it with you, that's been one of the most faith-stirring things for me, is when people close to me share what God's doing and the ways that He's bringing breakthrough. So I think that having those regular conversations with people are super helpful.
One of the most impactful ways to stir my faith is for me to unplug, to turn off my phone and go through some intentional time with the Lord. That could be fasting and prayer, or that could be just to get away. I could be spending 24 to 48 hours at an Airbnb or at a friend's place where I'm going to be alone and be with God and be with Him where I'm not striving, where I'm not just physically at rest, but my spirit is at rest and I'm communing with the Lord. Whenever I'm able to do that, I tend to leave invigorated, with more vitality, with renewed faith and vision. I leave a little bit more wholehearted than when I first began.
I find that the best way to stir faith is in the presence of others. Usually where we're kind of praising God, praying together. It's in that context that prophetic words often come that then stir faith for God to move. You know, if you want to stir up the embers of a fire to full flame, you need more than one log.
I'd say part of the way that I stir my faith is by trying to stay open. And that might look like taking in new ideas or new perspectives through reading or through listening to podcasts or whatever it may be. But also attempting to cultivate awareness of God in my own life. And I've found that often by simply slowing down and turning my attention to focus on what's right around me or what's going on within me reveals that there are always more things to be discovered and more things to be observed, and levels of meaning and wonder that are all around me. And sometimes I think sometimes that could be referred to as, mindfulness, or just sort of attempting to appreciate the day-to-day. But I think that is a way that I find myself being encouraged and motivated to continue to listen to where God might be leading and trying to communicate His love for me and for the world.
Yes. So to land our final devotional video, I want to challenge you this week to think about what are some of the scary faith steps you can take. Remembering that faith is an action and that faith almost always comes with a cost. What can you do this week to take a step of faith into something that God is calling you into? And this will look very different for all of us probably watching this video. For some of us, it might mean just simply emailing a friend and sharing a prophetic word you had for them. For some of it will mean asking your barista if you can pray for them. For some of you, it might mean making a big life decision that feels really risky, but you feel God is calling you into it. For some of you, it might mean giving away a chunk of money to support someone. For some of you, it might mean asking God for opportunities to pray for the sick on the street. What does it look like for you? My encouragement to you would be to take some time to journal and to write down, God, what is it you're calling me to step into this week? Write it down, name it, get it down so you can go back to it and say, God, this is what I need to do. Will you please help me with it? As you say every week, we're going to gather together this Sunday for the final time in July at the Bay Ridge Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, 71st and Shore. We'd love for you to join us. And as we gather together, we're going to eat together, we're going to fellowship, we're going to catch up, but we're also going to say, hey, what's your faith step? What's the thing you're having to step into this week? Finally, the book recommendation for this week is a book called Do What Jesus Did by a guy called Robbie Dawkins, who's a very charismatic guy. Some incredible stories. Don't read this book if you don't want to be challenged. It really stirred my faith. Go and get it. You can find them on Amazon. And that concludes, church, our 5-week daily devotional videos. We've looked at the importance of reading and memorizing the scripture. We've looked at the importance of praying daily. We've looked at the importance of rejoicing in our trials and why that is actually good for us. We've looked at the importance of sharing our faith and telling the world, because the world needs an encounter with Jesus. And then today we're finished by looking at the importance of expecting God to move, of having faith that he will do what he said he will do. I hope it's been really encouraging for you. We really hope to see you this Sunday to close out our summer.